Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking here in my bedroom in the great state of Kansas. And today I'm going to talk about the director and rank his directing films of Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau has directed 10 movies now to this date. Um, the last one just happened this summer with The Mandalorian, The Mandalorian and Grogu, Star Wars. His first movie was a movie called Made back in 2001. So he's been directing films for about 25 years now, and 10 films in 25 years. So he's not the most prolific director, I would say. Especially lately, he hasn't been directing too much. He's been more into, I think, producing and show running and stuff like that. As he was show running the show Mandalorian before he directed this movie, and that seemed to be kind of more of his things, behind the scenes guy. Um, Interesting, Jon Favreau. I think he's had an interesting kind of career when you look at it. Because I know him mostly at the beginning. He's been mostly known as an actor, I would say, more than director. Until recently, I think he's kind of switched that to being a big time director because he's directed some big movies and made a lot of money. So now he's kind of he was for a little while there, I would say, like a really high sought after director with a good track record behind him. I first saw Jon Favreau in the movie Rudy. That's the first time I ever noticed, and that was back in the '90s when that came out. I saw it in the theater, and Jon Favreau was playing like a friend, a college friend to the main to Rudy, the main character, and was somewhat of a comic relief kind of character throughout the second half of the movie, and was pretty funny character. I really enjoyed the character, and I didn't know who Jon Favreau was or this actor first time I saw him, and I guess I came away saying, ah, yeah, I like that character, I like that role. It was very funny. It's funny Vince Vaughn's also in that movie as well, and we know Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau are really close friends. Have done a lot together, worked a lot together in a lot of movies and stuff like that from here on out. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would see him on and off on different movies and TV shows. He'd make guest appearances, and so I know him mostly just as a comic sidekick character, supporting role character. Basically, was kind of all he was really good for. It seemed like throughout most movies, he was never a guy that can really, I feel like, star in a movie. He starred in a couple of movies, but none of them made it real big. And then he got into directing, like I said, in the 2000s. Really made it big with Elf. Elf was like the first, it was like his second movie, which is crazy. And it ended up being a huge Christmas hit and still beloved to this day. Watched every Christmas by most people, I think, especially people my age, I think, that grew up on that movie, and people even younger. So that definitely made him like definitely put him on the map as a director, I think. And I don't know if he was wanting to be more of a director than an actor, or he kind of did both. I feel like he was bigger director, and he kind of did more small roles as an actor here and there, and became more of a director. What really set him off, I think, is Iron Man, of course, in 2008, because he was only doing like comedies until then, and then all of a sudden he does this big blockbuster MCU movie, the first MCU movie in the anyway. So it was a huge monumental film for that, and it was did really well and really showed that he can do these big budget superhero movies. And of course, he did Iron Man 2 after that. And then he went away from the superhero movies, and then it seems like he just keeps reinventing himself in the sense that he then comes back and does The Jungle Book, a Disney live action remake. Back when there wasn't a lot of Disney live action remakes, that was kind of a new thing. Taking old animation Disney movies and doing a live action version of it, as so to say, even though it's really just a CGI version of the movie. And that made a lot of money, did very well. And then he did Lion King, which made $1 billion and was, but definitely his biggest box office movie he's ever done. And so then he kind of became this like, oh, is he now a Disney guy? He seems like now he's kind of transitioned to this guy that's really into Disney properties and is working for Disney, and has done the last three movies have been Disney movies, I believe, with Star Wars being the third one. And there actually was a break between Lion King and Star Wars. He really wasn't directing any movies between that time. Like I said, he was mostly just dealing with Star Wars and being the showrunner for that show. And I think writing and directing and really helping that show be a big show for Disney Plus. Anyway, so he's kind of now at this point where he's more of this, veteran director who can be put into any project, and you can, I think a company can be confident that he could make a good product now. He's definitely proved it over and over again, and he doesn't have to direct, so he gets more. I think he's definitely more. He gets to pick his projects, and so he doesn't have to be as prolific, so to say. Anyway, so yeah, very interesting overall. I would say looking at the 10 movies, I just watched one the other day to finish out this, so I can do this ranking of his movies, and I would say the top four I would give a recommendation. I'd give a good review on. So that's 4 out of 10. So it's, for me, it's not a high percentage. I feel like it's less than 50% of his movies I think are good. Now, saying that, most of his movies have done well and made good money. So he is, like I said, as far as making money and all that, he's done very well for himself. For me, my personal taste, his movies haven't been the best. But he has made, I say his top two are really good movies, like top-notch movies, some of my favorites. So he is capable of making really good stuff and all that. Anyway, so saying all that, let's get to the list itself. And so at number 10, I have his very first movie called Made that came back in, I believe it was 2001. And if you're like me, I never heard this movie. Didn't know this movie existed. When I was looking him up to see how many movies he made and see about doing this ranking, I was like, Made? Never heard of that movie. In 2001, like, I was watching a lot of movies back then. I don't know if it ever came out in theaters where I was at. And it's just such an under the radar type movie. I assumed that Swingers was like the first movie he directed. And I was surprised to see that he didn't even direct Swingers. I always thought that was like his first big project as like a, I thought he was a director-actor for that, but evidently he didn't direct that, but he starred in it with Vince Vaughn. And this movie Made, he also stars with Vince Vaughn. So this is kind of, you'll see this a lot with him, starring with Vince Vaughn in these kind of movies. And so movie Made, a movie about starring him and Vince Vaughn as like amateur boxers, which is a little strange. They don't look like amateur boxers necessarily. Who also works for like this mob boss played by Peter Falk, and works in his business, and also he serves as kind of like a driver / bodyguard for a stripper who I think is also his girlfriend, and he goes on to a job of driving his girlfriend / stripper to a job, and watches her strip in front of a bunch of rich guys. And one of them gets a little too handsy, and he punches him out for it, being very angry. And so he gets in trouble, and so he gets put on a different job by Peter Falk. And he's friends with Vince Vaughn, so he has Vince Vaughn help him with this job. What the job is, I can't really remember. It was so boring of a movie. I half paid attention when I was watching this the other day. You can find it on Tubi. And so they go on this job, and they have to go meet this guy played by Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, who's another kind of mob boss, I guess. And they're supposed to do something for him, something to deal with money, and it's mob stuff. A little strange seeing Sean Combs in a movie, of course, because obviously now we know the kind of terrible things he's done, and he's been canceled. And you go, oh wow, they expect to see him here. He's acted here and there and all that. Another funny scene, actually I say funny, the only funny scene I thought in the movie was they're going to a club and they're not on the list, and the bouncer is not letting them in the club. And then we see the actor who plays Screech in the show Saved by the Bell. He shows up, and I'm like, that's I forget his name right now. Dustin Diamonds, or I think. Dustin Diamonds or whatever shows up, and I'm like, oh wow, Dustin Diamonds, Screech from Saved by the Bell. And I think he's playing a character. I'm like, wow, you never see him in movies anyways. And this is him older and a little bit older, way after Saved by the Bell. And he goes in, and they let him in like he's a celebrity. And then Vince Vaughn goes, you're letting Screech in, but you're not letting me in? And I go, oh, he's playing himself. He's playing himself as Dustin Diamonds. So that was kind of funny. But besides that, mostly, it wasn't a very funny movie. It was pretty boring. It's not very dramatic. Jon Favreau, I don't think, was a good enough actor at this point to carry a movie itself. And like I said, never heard this movie. doubt anybody's ever heard of this movie or seen it. I wouldn't recommend it. It's, yeah, definitely his worst movie I think he's been in. Vince Vaughn is okay. He's the usual Vince Vaughn, as always, and all that. Um, yeah, it's just, I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's not a comedy, really. It's not that dramatic. It's a mobster movie, but it's not that much, not that interesting of a mobster movie. It's almost like he was trying to do a Tarantino type movie without the interesting dialogue or characters or shocking moments or anything. There is a lot of cursing. They say the F word quite a bit in the movie. From him and Vince Vaughn and Peter Falk, even as the mob boss uses. I was kind of a little taken back by all the F words used in the movie. The characters are very unlikable. Didn't care about the characters at all or the storyline, or didn't care at the end that they succeeded. I was like, I just don't care about these people. Anyways, I'm talking probably too much about this movie, but I just saw it yesterday. But yeah, Made. Number 10. Number 9, I put Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu. So I got his very first film, the worst movie. Second worst film is the last movie, his 10th movie that he made just this summer. I did a whole review on it. I talked about it a little bit on. And yeah, this is, when I did my Star Wars ranking, this was the worst Star Wars movie, even worse than Last Jedi, which I didn't think you can make anything worse than Last Jedi. But I just came down to the fact that, again, Mandalorian and Grogu was just such a boring movie. I was bored out of my tears. I almost wanted to leave halfway through. I was like, man, I don't know if I can sit through this whole movie. It's so boring and uninteresting of a story. And it's like just a episode of the show. I love the show. The show is great. But the movie just didn't seem like it needed to exist. The movie should have just been the fourth season of Mandalorian. I think it would have been much better use of the story, because it wasn't that interesting of a story, really. It's just kind of the side quest story of getting this Rodney the Hutt and then having to fight with the Hutts and whatever, and this bounty hunter shows up, and it's like, it just feels like an episode of the show, except really boring, and it's like the action wasn't all that great, lots of CGI that wasn't that great, and I was gonna say, I don't know, just overall, just very, oh, it was so dark, that was it. It was so dark, I could hardly see what was going on. I remember being in the theater going, I don't know what's going on. I can't see what's going on. It's just always in dark areas. I don't know. It was very disappointing. So that's number 9. Number 8, I put Cowboys and Aliens. And anybody remember this movie? Because it was after he did Iron Man 2, I think. And I feel like, you figured he was going to continue on with the MCU because this, Iron Man series was so popular. But he ended up not doing Iron Man 3. They gave it to Shane Black to do that one. And I don't know if it's true, but I think I heard that Jon Favreau was kind of wanting to do the Avengers. Like, he wanted to be like the guy kind of, guiding this series, MCU, in the direction he wanted to go anyways. And he already did like 2 big movies for them. And I think, and I don't know if that's true, but it sounds like he might have been disappointed by that. Though he has come back many times to play Happy Hogan, Tony Stark's driver and bodyguard, whatever. Besides that, I don't know. It seems like after that, he kind of went away from the MCU movies. And he did this movie instead, Cowboys and Aliens. And it's such a weird title. Pretty on the nose. I guess there's cowboys and there's aliens. So, I mean, I know that the movie is kind of supposed to mix old style with, futuristic style. So it's like this, you're kind of trying to combine 2 genres, a Western and a sci-fi movie together into one. I forget now, what's his name? Guy who played James Bond played the main character here. I believe Harrison Ford was in it. I say all this because I don't remember much of this movie. I saw it a long time ago when it came out. And I just remember being pretty bored with it and not thinking it was that interesting of a storyline. Besides that, I guess I don't have much more to say about the movie. I just don't remember enjoying it that much. So it's at number 8. Number 7, I have The Jungle Book. Might be surprising because this was a big movie for him. I think a lot of people really liked it. I really loved the original cartoon version. It's a fun, family, charming movie that I really enjoyed. The live-action Jungle Book was a little bit different toned. I feel like it was a little more serious toned. It wasn't as fun. It wasn't as charming. It was kind of scary. Like, a lot of the villain characters, you got the snake. You got, I think, the the panther or whatever, and the monkey, Louis the King, whatever, Louis King monkey, whatever. All were really scary kind of characters. I was a little shocked when I remember seeing it. And they've thrown a lot of jump scares in there. Like I jumped several times during that movie. And so it was weird, the tone. It just felt like they're trying to go for like almost a scary thriller type movie instead of just a fun comedy, family comedy or whatever. I don't know. I didn't like it because of that. I mean, and then you got all these CGI'd animals that you're like, and I'm going to say this again when I talk about Lion King, but it's like, what's the point of making a live action if most of the characters are CGI'd? You have one human character, Mowgli. Everything else is CGI'd. It's basically an animated movie in a sense. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I didn't enjoy as much. I don't know. It just wasn't my movie, I guess. So it's here at number 7. All right, going from that, I'm going right to number 6, being The Lion King. It's hard. Lion King Jungle Book, I kind of feel the same way. I love The Lion King, obviously. The animated film is my favorite animation film of all time. I saw it in the movie theater when I was a kid. And this obviously was, when they started doing live action, this was definitely one of the most hyped up live action movies. Everybody was real excited about this movie because everybody loves The Lion King. But again, you're making all these CGI'd animals, and it felt like just another. It's the exact same storyline. So what's the point in making this live action movie? Well, it's just going to follow the same storyline and be CGI'd animals, basically animated animals. Anyways, the only problem is, I said this when I was talking about Moana the other day, is I feel like the performances in the anime movie were much better than the live action performances. A lot of that's because the way they did the live action performances was the animals weren't very emotive in their facial expression. They didn't have much facial expressions. They look like real lions, but the only problem is it's not very interesting, a real lion talking. You need some of the funny facial expressions of the lion that kind of makes those characters. And so I prefer the anime movie characters way more because I just felt like they were more interesting facially, and their body language and all that just didn't come out in the live action. Anyway, so I don't know. To me, it was just like, why even bother? I just stick to the animated version. All right, number 5, I have Iron Man 2, sequel to Iron Man. Yeah, this one, going back to it, I remember thinking it was okay maybe at first, but then more time I go back to it, more I feel like it's a little boring. I think it's a little too long. It drags. I'm not so crazy about the whole storyline of Tony Stark, like he's dying of poison because of the arc reactor thing in his chest. And so he kind of has this mental meltdown, and it's just not that interesting for the character because most of it is just him kind of, it's like the movie takes a pause from the real villain and just deals with his own personal issues. And it's like, I'm not that interested in Tony Stark's personal issues. I'm more interested in the villains and what they're doing and how he's going to stop them and all that. I think Sam Rockwell was actually really good. I really like his character as this kind of incompetent rival of Tony Stark. And Sam Rockwell was really good, and he was funny, and it was a good character. Make It Work was fine as, more of the big bad Russian, because he does look like a villainous character. I mean, he's perfect for the role. And I even kind of like the design of the villain character when he first comes out with those whips. And his storyline's even interesting, that his dad worked with Tony Stark, and he's like a genius at engineering too, and he engineers these robots and stuff like, so there's some interesting things with that character. I think my problem with that character at the end, though, is he has a big fight scene with Iron Man and War Machine, whatever, and you're like, oh wow, here's the big fight scene. And I feel like that fight scene lasts like 2 minutes, and they beat him kind of easily. They're just like, hey, let's just combine our powers, and they do, and they beat him. And I'm like, oh, that was a little too easy, and it happened too quick. Like I was expecting this big fight scene that was going to last, 10 minutes or something. I don't know. So I felt like it was a little, the climatic scene was a little disappointing, I guess, and wasn't as climatic as you would like. And then, like I said, there's this whole sequence where, like, you find out, the assistant is Black Widow, and Fury comes in, and he's, telling him, I don't know, he's giving a talk, and then he has to go invent a new element so that he can replace the arc reactor with this new element that won't kill him. I don't know, that part just dragged the movie way down. And it just wasn't as fun or funny as the first one, and even the third one I think is better than this one. So Iron Man 2 at number 5 here. All right, so The top four, I'm going to give these more good recommendations. Starting with number four is Chef, which is very interesting. It's more of this indie kind of movie, kind of small scale movie compared, because he was already doing Iron Man 2, Cowboys and Aliens. He's doing these very big budget movies at this time. And then I don't know if this was after Jungle Book and Lion King as well. I don't know. I'm forgetting exactly where this was at, but it came out on Netflix, and it just felt, and he stars in it. He directs and stars in it as the chef. And I would say, like, when I watched it when it came out on Netflix, uh, I would say I liked that Jon Favreau better than I liked the Jon Favreau in the first movie he made that he did, or even like Swingers or whatever. I feel like he just got better as an actor over time, which makes sense. And I think his performance is a lot better here in Chef. I kind of like him here as his character. And I think he probably has gotten better as a director too as time has gone on. But especially as an actor, I feel like he's much better at creating a character. Anyway, so I like the character. He's a chef at a high-end restaurant. Movie critic says that his food's not very good. He's kind of lost his passion for, I think, being a chef because of the owner is not letting him be creative and design his own menu or something. And so he goes and chews out the food critic, and he gets fired from the job. And so he's trying to, kind of find himself in the movie. And I think I believe he's reconnecting with the son maybe, and has son come with him, and he buys a food truck and starts a food truck service kind of thing, and kind of makes it, and kind of, in charge of all of it, and kind of gets to make his own menu, I guess, and gets to just do a simple food truck thing. And he's putting out really good food, and he's kind of finding his passion as a chef again, and all the, anyways. So overall, I like the story, the arc of the character, and I think overall a good performance. And it's funny, just a small movie that was all decent. I would give it like 3 stars. Like, it's not, I didn't love it, but overall, I just actually really enjoyed it, and it was a good watch anyway. So that's at number 4. Number 3 is Zathura, the space adventure. You might not remember this movie because this movie was basically like a spin-off almost of Jumanji. It's not as heralded or talked about. In fact, I don't think anybody talks about this movie. But it's basically the same storyline as Jumanji. Except Zathura is a board game, a sci-fi board game, basically in space or something like that. And same thing, kids are playing this Zathura board game, and characters are coming out of the game, and they have to deal with these different characters and stuff like that. So it's a family kind of sci-fi fantasy film. I would say not as good as Jumanji because I love Jumanji. It's such a great movie with Robin Williams. And it doesn't have the star power, if I remember right, it's like a Robin Williams or anything. But it still was a very enjoyable family film. I love the premise, of course. Same thing as Jumanji, but I love that premise. Playing a board game and characters coming out and dealing with that. So it has that same kind of storyline. It works. It's a good, like I said, good family comedy film. And it's already at number 3. It's one of his best films I think he's directed, and he's not in it at all as well. Which I almost want to say his best movies he probably doesn't need the star in, but anyways, but yeah, Zathura. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I'd recommend that movie. I'd give like 3 out of 5 stars. All right, my top 2, you probably guess what they are if you know Jon Favreau's work, and it's definitely 2 of his probably most heralded films, most best reviewed films, maybe, that I think have stood the test of time. And number 2, though, I'm putting Iron Man here. This was, like I said, like the movie that really made him a big time director that could make these big budget movies and make a lot of money with them. And Iron Man really surprised me. I didn't have that big expectations because Iron Man as a character is, B level, C level superhero character. He's not an A level character. He's not a character you really base a whole franchise on. So it was a little surprising when Iron Man came out and you go, wow, they're making, because they were already making, Batman movies, Spider-Man movies, X-Men movies. Those were A level superheroes. Iron Man, though, they came out with Iron Man. I'm like, wow, Iron Man. Wow, they're really, kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel, trying to get all these different superheroes out because superhero movies were getting popular, I think. And then, so they're just coming out with all kinds of superhero movies. But Iron Man comes out, and man, was it great. Like, it was one of those movies where I came out going, that was way better than I expected it to be, and immediately bought it on Blu-ray or DVD at the time. and watched the heck out of it and told everybody, like, you gotta watch Iron Man. This movie's so good. A lot of that's because Robert Downey Jr., which is interesting because there's almost like a renaissance for Robert Downey Jr., who was, a working actor in different stuff, but he was mostly known for being having problems going to jail for drug abuse and stuff like that. He had a drug problem and all this. And I never thought he was going to amount to anything because all I knew was like, oh, he has a drug problem. And this is the time when he kind of got out of that. He sobered up and wasn't into drugs. And he wasn't a A-list star at that point at all. Even though he was nominated for an Oscar for Chaplin, I wouldn't say he was a guy that bankable A-lister. This movie changed everything. I mean, he was so good in this role. You came away going, I want to see more Robert Downey Jr., and he's become a huge star since. He's won an Oscar. Of course, he's been in all these MCU movies. Tony Stark is such a, I would say, it's my favorite character in all the MCU movies and all superhero movies. He really made this character one of the best. I mean, Iron Man now is an A-list superhero to me before. And a lot of that's because Tony Stark is such a fun character. He's very witty, he's very funny, and that's all Robert Downey Jr. It's just a great performance by him. And it has such a great character arc to it. I love how he first starts out as kind of this somewhat selfish, kind of womanizer, somewhat. He just sleeps around. He not very serious, it seems like, and he, just going through life, this rich, guy that can do everything he wants. And then after getting, kidnapped by terrorists and getting, escaping, he then changes as a character. And I really like that, where he becomes more, what am I doing? What kind of purpose am I having in life? Am I helping people? He's finding a new purpose. And I love that about the character. He's, honing in on Pepper Potts is like his main interest, love interest. He's using his money to build a suit to go fight terrorists. He's trying to do good things in the world. It's just, it just comes a less selfish character and more caring about people around him. I don't know. I just love that. Love the whole character arc. Great performance. It's a movie that's very funny. Has some good action sequences as well. I mean, it's just a great combination of a superhero movie. I would say the second best origin story, I think. My favorite origin story is Batman Begins, but this is clearly my second favorite origin story of a superhero character. They did such a great job. This is definitely a blueprint for how you make a good superhero movie that we don't make too many anymore, but this is how you do it. Anyway, so yeah, great job here. Number 2, Iron Man. This is like probably 4.5 stars. It's a great movie. Which takes me number 1, which I had to go with this movie because this is a movie I go back to so many times every year. I just love this movie, and that's Elf. At number 1, this movie, it's a great Christmas movie. It's a great comedy. It's just now a Christmas classic. It's funny, when it first came out, this is interesting because this is like his first big movie, like I said, it's second movie, and it's almost like a throwback to old Christmas classics with the, there's some stop motion animation characters in the movie, and it's kind of going for that. And Will Ferrell, he is so good. This is one of Will Ferrell's best performances. I mean, he is so funny as Buddy the Elf. This is really the first movie that he starred in. Like, he co-starred in a couple comedies before this, and he came out Saturday Night Live, which he was very popular. But this was kind of the movie that showed that Will Ferrell can carry a comedy very well, and he's done it since very well. I mean, he's one of the greatest comedic actors of all time, in my opinion. I absolutely love Will Ferrell movies, and this is definitely at the top of my list of my favorite Will Ferrell movies. It's funny, at the time when it came out, I thought it was decent. I thought it was funny. I enjoyed it. I think story-wise, it's not the best written story. I think the father character comes around a little too quickly at the end. And I mean, it's stupid at times and all this, but since I saw it in the movie theater, and I've seen it so many times during Christmas time, I just love it. Every Christmas usually when this comes on TV and I watch it, I just can't stop laughing. And I've seen this movie so many times and I still laugh my head off of it. It's just, it's silly, but it is so funny. Yes, you can't take it seriously. It's a silly movie. You can't take it serious, but I think once I kind of did that, when I was just, I'm just going to enjoy this movie and not think too seriously about it. And once I did that, I was like, yeah, this is one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite comedies overall. I think Jon Favreau did a great job here. and he hadn't done a lot of comedies like this since. This has definitely been the most comedic movie he's done, which he is a kind of a comedic actor, I feel like, in heart, you know. So I don't know why he hadn't done more of these. He's kind of gone more to these more serious, you know, action movies, I guess, sci-fi, fantasy, whatever you want to say. But yeah, Elf, yeah, definitely my favorite Jon Favreau movie. And yeah, so that's my list anyways. Love to hear your thoughts. Do you have a favorite Jon Favreau movie? And besides that, thank you so much for watching this video and liking it. I appreciate all my subscribers for supporting this channel. I really thank you, and I hope you have a great day.